J.D. Vance confronts Gigi Sohn over her odd tweets around a person's race.
There's been this weird trend in certain corners of American politics to be very, very racialized and even to criticize explicit racial groups almost as a pejorative. And you, unfortunately, have participated in that. And I want to ask just a couple of questions on that. Before I do, I want to illustrate this by pointing out something that's going on in my state. We have a very, very bad train crash in East Palestine, Ohio. It's caused a terrible chemical spill, likely environmental consequences as far as the eye can see. And of course, we're doing as much as we can to help constituents on the ground. But I note that Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg yesterday, when he made some public remarks, instead of commenting on this or talking about the issue or giving any reason to think that he's focused on one of the major transportation mishaps in this country over the last couple of years, he decided to instead focus on the terrible scourge of too many white men in the construction industry. And I find that preposterous, both on its own face, but also as a focus from the Secretary of Transportation. So I want to read you a tweet with that backdrop in mind. And I quote, "President Obama is a raggedy black supremacist president, and his cowardly enablers would rather kill everybody than stop killing white people." Do you think a person who said that should be appointed or confirmed to the FCC?
Could you read I didn't quite get that. Could you just reread that, would you mind?
President Obama is a raggedy black supremacist president, and his cowardly enablers would rather kill everybody than stop killing white people. Do you think a person, yes or no, who says that should be appointed to the FCC?
I would need to know more of the context, honestly.
Okay, well, I think
really
clearly a
answer the
person who said that should not be appointed to the FCC.
Okay.
And in fact, you retweeted the exact same thing, only with President Trump instead of President Obama, and the races reversed. Let me read another tweet, and let me ask you if this is an acceptable thing for an FCC commissioner. "Angry black woman, not a good look, Judge Brown Jackson." Would a person who tweeted that pejoratively be deserving of the position that you're seeking?
I think it has nothing to do with the position that they're seeking, so not necessarily.
So I think that's
I know I tweeted something about Judge Kavanaugh, right?
I think that's preposterous. Come on. You tweeted at Judge Kavanaugh, "Angry white man, not a good look, Judge Kavanaugh." Now, here's why I think that it's relevant. We live in a country that's very diverse. People come from very different backgrounds. And one of the things that preserves what little racial comedy and harmony we have in this country is that our leaders don't use that racial comedy and harmony like a toddler who discovered their daddy's gun. You talk about racial issues in a way that will inflame the very worst things in our country. And I fear that if you're given this position of authority, you will use that authority to continue to inflame and to continue potentially even to censor based on some of these ideas. Now, I've just illustrated a couple of ways that we talk about these issues, or some of our leaders talk about these issues. I hope that I never do. And if I do, I hope my constituents will hold me to account for it. But one of the things that I fear here is that you're being appointed to a position with an incredible amount of control over the way that we communicate with each other, the way that we debate with each other, the way that our politics actually manifests itself in the public debate. And I guess I'd ask you, do you think those comments are a good thing for the American people to hear, given how much power you will have if you get confirmed?
Senator, I made those comments in my role as either a private citizen or a public advocate, and they will have absolutely no bearing on how I would act as an FCC commissioner.
Ms. Sohn, I appreciate that, but they reveal something about how you see the world, how you think about the world, and how you feel about the world. So I understand and respect that you made them in your capacity as a private citizen, but they are reflective of a person who will have a lot of power if the Senate confirms your nomination. And this is why I'm going to oppose your nomination, despite some areas of substantive agreement. Thank you, Ms. Sohn.
You know, at the end of this video, when she was trying to defend herself and saying how if she was appointed, that there would be checks and balances where she would not have authority or full power to just go ahead and make rulings that were more personal and not with, going with the law. So as she was saying that, I'm like, I'm hearing her and I'm thinking she's burying herself because it's so obvious how JD responded and said, you know, thanks for giving us that explanation. But and this was a huge point I think he made, when we live in a world, in a country that's so diverse, and you're going to go ahead and put out, even if you're in your personal time, tweets that show how racist you are or your racist stance in life, how can someone elect you to move forward in a position that's going to deal with people's different races, right? Different race. So I totally agree with him. I mean, she is so, you can tell, she believes that what she believes is so right. And that's because liberals, if you turn to a liberal channel, I will bet you that you can't even go 5 minutes on listening to a liberal channel without hearing something about someone being racist or identifying someone's color of their skin or what race they are, their color of the skin, if they're Puerto Rican or whatever, right? You can't even, they're always identifying specifically what the difference is within all of us. And that's the problem with liberals. They see color. Conservatives see the integrity of a person's heart and a person's character. You won't hear conservatives leading with someone's color of their skin. At least I believe that, truly.